I'm happy to see 76ers fans happy, because the past few seasons with the process, yeah, the franchise had a direction, but it required a lot of patience from the Philadelphia faithful. And these are fans who are knowledgeable about basketball. They've seen a lot of really good basketball played. So to have to put themselves through that for a few seasons, it kind of sucked. But last night, I think we saw the sort of end of that era, I guess, as Joel Embiid was great for them, as he put up 20 points, 7 rebounds, but also it was just the fans in the arena. I mean, it was a sold-out crowd in Philadelphia, and they were loud, boy. They were loud, they were excited, because they got to see the product of that entire process with Joel Embiid. I mean, now some of the young guys they had during the whole process, if you will, Jahlil Okafor is good, and he's a very good low-post scorer, and Nerlens Noel can probably be a defensive whiz in the NBA. But no one had the hype that Joel Embiid had, because he was getting comparisons to Hakeem Olajuwon with his athleticism and his defense, his rim protection, as well as his low-post scoring. But unfortunately, they had to wait 2 whole years for it. But last night, he finally shows up, and Embiid was great. I mean, he showed pretty much everything you want to see out of a center. He showed rim protection. He blocked a shot from Russell Westbrook. He showed some hellish athleticism. I mean, if you just watch him on any play, his ability to move around the floor, side-to-side action, help out on defense, but also just sprint up and down the floor too. I mean, he really moves like a perimeter player, the way Joel Embiid does, and that's... I mean, you look at the impact that someone like DeAndre Jordan has on the NBA, someone who's not really an offensive player like that. He doesn't have any post moves. He can't hit a 15-footer. He can't even hit a free throw. But still, his ability to just sprint down the floor and be faster than a lot of big men in the NBA is huge. And then you combine that with an actual offensive game like Embiid has. I mean, this guy could be great for the 76ers. And besides all that, like I mentioned, he showed the post moves. I mean, he was posting up. He was doing spin moves. He was beating his guy off the dribble. And he wasn't doing it against a defensive scrub either. He was doing it against Steven Adams, who's one of the best defensive centers in the NBA. I mean, remember what he did against the Golden State Warriors, the impact he had? And again, Embiid not only posting up, but also his face-up game was really good as well. And that shows you, like, Embiid can beat you from any way, because if you're a center who is pretty big-bodied and you can defend him in the post, well, he'll just do the face-up stuff on you. He'll drive right by you. He's got a decent handle on the ball. He also hit a three-pointer. So if you're a center who's not comfortable with stepping outside, well, too bad, because Embiid's going to hit a three-pointer on you, or he's just going to hit a 15-footer. But if you are someone who's a bit more nimble and you can step out and defend him from out there, then he can post up on you. I think Embiid's a really special player. The only question is, can he stay healthy? I mean, we saw it last night. There was one time when he was coming down the floor really damn hard, and he fell really hard on a collision play at the rim, got right up, and he was okay. So I think Embiid is fantastic, and I think it's great for the Sixers fans that seems to be what they think he's going to be. I mean, I know there is the whole don't react to one game thing, but when you look at the moves that Embiid was using, I mean, there were times when he gave Steven Adams like the Hakeem shake, and then he would immediately like do a pump fake, stop, and then go right back up with it like on a drop step or an up and under, like the type of moves that you have already as a rookie, like that's just crazy. And then you also combine that again with the 15-footer and everything. We could have seen Ben Simmons and Embiid together if Simmons didn't get hurt. So as exciting as it was last night for the Sixers, it's going to get even more exciting once Ben Simmons shows up. And then I think with Embiid, given that he has the athleticism, you could see him and Simmons play off of each other really well in pick and rolls as well as pick and pops, because again, Embiid has that sort of stuff to his game. I think the tandem of those two could be really impossible to defend with some maturity, of course. It is only their rookie seasons. But as great as that is, it does make you question some other moves that Philadelphia has here. The other two big men, of course, are Jahlil Okafor and Nerlens Noel. Okafor actually played, which I don't think people realize. I didn't realize it for a minute. Speaking of not realizing, the Sixers already played their second game of the season against the Hawks. Embiid had 14 points, once again hit a three-pointer, showed his ability to hit mid-range, and he also had a couple of nice post moves on Dwight Howard. He forced Paul Millsap to fall down when they collided with each other. But yeah, back to Jahlil Okafor. I'm trying to think of a way that Okafor and Embiid can play off of each other. I've warmed up to the idea a little bit, but I'm still not super committed to it. Because when you look at Okafor, he's a guy who's probably just going to be around the basket a lot because he's a really good post-up player. He's very good at scoring down low, and I mean, that's pretty much what he does. If you ask him to stretch the floor like Embiid, it's probably not going to happen. If you want him to be an athlete, it's not really going to happen either, and he could grow into an okay defensive player, but as of right now, he's not that. But still, his offense around the rim and inside the paint is so good that it might be worth seeing if he can really play off of Embiid, because on the flip side, it's like Embiid seems like he can be a fantastic defensive player, so he could make up for some of the things that Okafor can't do on that side of the floor. But also, Embiid, like I mentioned, because he can stretch the floor as well, you might be able to have him play off of Okafor, and Okafor can post up, and you can still have some decent spacing. Now, at the same time, if you want to post up Embiid, then Okafor might not be able to provide that for him, so I don't know if it'll be a seamless fit from day one, but I think it is worth at least trying with these two, because if you could get to a point where these two could play off of each other, and you have two guys who could become almost unstoppable on the low block, that could be really damn difficult to defend for a lot of teams. But then I think about it and I add in the Ben Simmons factor of it all. Simmons seems like a guy who's going to have the ball in his hands a lot, he's going to be driving inside, he's going to be doing pick and rolls, and I feel like that would just be better off for him and Embiid surrounded by shooters. I also feel like Okafor, being a guy who's predominantly a post-up player, wouldn't be the best fit with Ben Simmons. Because, again, Joel Embiid seems like the perfect pick-and-roll player, kind of like Anthony Davis, where he can roll to the rim really well, but he can also pick and pop as well, which would be perfect next to Ben Simmons. So perhaps you end up trading Jahlil Okafor anyway. There is also Nerlens Noel, who I want to talk about, who's unfortunately injured for a little while. Personally, I'm more of a fan of Nerlens Noel than Jahlil Okafor because he's a damn good defensive player and he's an athlete, and I mean, I think he can be like a DeAndre Jordan in the sense of, yeah, he's not going to be a big-time offensive player for you, but he's so damn good on defense and rebounding and athleticism and all that he still makes you a better team anyway. And I do think Nerlens could have a better relationship with Ben Simmons because of the pick-and-roll combination with those two. I mean, Simmons could throw lobs to Nerlens Noel all day. And because Joel Embiid has shown an ability to shoot, you might be able to play off of that. You would have to get a little creative with defense, however. I think you'd have to have Nerlens defending the power forward on the other team, which a lot of the time he can do just because he's he's an athlete and all that. But at the same time, his defensive potential really comes out when he's playing the center position and he can man the paint for you. So that's an interesting discussion that needs to be had within 76ers organization, which it probably already has. But again, I do think Embiid is definitely your guy at the center position. I mean, he can do everything you want. He can be a post-up player. He can be a face-up player. He can spread the floor for you. He can play in the pick and roll, which fits in with Ben Simmons perfectly, we assume, once Simmons comes back. And then on defense, he's got the athleticism to move around. He's already blocked 2 shots a game in both of his NBA games. And he can sprint up and down the floor like a crazy person, so he's got to be your center. And while I do think there's a chance that you could get either Okafor or Noel to fit in with him, it might be more beneficial for you to trade those guys. I mean, Nerlens Noel is interesting because he's about to hit restricted free agency, so if you want to keep him, you're going to have to pay him like $20 million or something, because that's what teams are going to pay for what he can do defensively and rebounding wise and all that, which I don't know if they're going to want to do, but at the same time, it makes it kind of tough to trade him. The team taking him on will, of course, know that they're about to pay him a lot of money, so they're going to have to believe that he's worth that. And me personally, I think he is worth that because he's showing signs of being a fantastic defender for the Sixers. If you just made him the center for your team and you said, okay, you're the guy manning the paint, I think Nerlens could be fantastic for you. And then you could trade him for a point guard or a shooting guard, someone who could play off of what Simmons and Embiid and perhaps Okafor could do. I mean, if you can get a point guard who maybe is more of a low usage kind of guy, who's a very good shooter for you, kind of like a George Hill, if Ben Simmons is going to be the guy with the ball in his hands all the time. It would also be nice to get a creator at the shooting guard position who can get their own shot off at the same time, play off ball, and be able to hit threes. But now let's go back to the power forward position of the Sixers, because like I talk about how I think Okafor or Noel could play off of Embiid, but part of me also believes that neither one of them are really the right power forward option, because you have to factor Ben Simmons into this as well, because if Simmons is the guy with the ball in his hands all the time, he's going to be driving inside, he's going to be doing stuff with Joel Embiid. I would probably want all my other guys to be able to play off of that. And when you look at some of the top teams in the NBA recently, and you look at the power forwards position for them, I mean, last season, Oklahoma City, they had Serge Ibaka at the 4, someone who could be a really good defender, an athlete, but could also stretch the floor as well. You look at Draymond Green on the Golden State Warriors, he's the classic, well, he's not really classic, he's the revolutionary power forward who can defend all 5 positions as well as hit threes. You look at Kevin Love on the Cleveland Cavaliers, who's also a guy who can stretch the floor for you. You see what I'm getting at. That might be the type of guy that the Philadelphia really needs at that 4 spot, someone who could stretch the floor for the Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid stuff, and then be a nice defensive player on the other end. But that's also a tough guy to find. I mean, if teams are managed to find one of those guys, they very often do not let them go, because it's a very valuable thing. Unless you're the Oklahoma City Thunder and you're terrified of getting into contract negotiations with people, then you trade Serge Ibaka to the Magic. Hey, Serge Ibaka's a free agent after this year. Maybe the Sixers should do that. Now, of course, Dario Saric is on the roster, who seems like he's a power forward who can stretch from outside. He hasn't been very good to start the season, but I'm sure he'll be okay in the long run. He seems like the type of guy who could play off of all that. Who knows? But I think you see what I'm getting at this point. The potential of Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid playing off of each other, and then surrounding that with a point guard who doesn't need the ball in their hand too much but still makes you better, a shooting guard who can shoot from outside as well as create something so Ben Simmons is not the only one creating for you, and then a power forward who can stretch the floor and play off of what Simmons and Embiid do. It's an idea. It's my idea. It doesn't have to be the right one. For all we know, Okafor or Nerlens could end up being the perfect big man next to Embiid, as well as Simmons. Even if I personally don't think that will happen, but who knows? But yeah, Joel Embiid, he's sparking a new excitement with the 76ers. It's really good to see. And I'm done.